What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is CJ, also known as Courtney Jane Racing, and welcome to my channel. Today is a very unexpected video because I am pulling the engine out of my 2006 Subaru WRX. Now, there are two reasons why I'm doing this, and the main reason is just because I just got a new clutch sent in from Centerforce Clutches. I will be installing that in a whole separate video. So while I'm in there changing out the clutch, I'm really curious to see what's going on with the motor. I've been wanting to get it rebuilt for a while now, and I just came to the conclusion, you know, like I'm just gonna rebuild it myself. So that'll be an interesting road. But mostly I'm just really curious to see on how the motor looks and what the condition is like while I'm taking the clutch out. So enough talking and let's get to it. We have taken out the entire battery, intercooler, alternator, and the intake. So on this alternator, there is a total of 2 bolts and 2 washers, as well as a bracket, and we have a belt here. Be sure to definitely inspect your belt for any like fraying or cracking, rips. There's a lot of things that I will definitely be replacing while I'm in there. There's also a sensor in the back that you will be unplugging. There is a red little rubber cap that sits on top of it, and located inside is going to be a nut. This one is going to be a longer bolt with a bracket. Of course, when putting the belt back on with everything else, we are going to make sure everything is properly measured out and that the belt has the correct tension on it. Okay, so for the alternator, this is what I was talking about, where there's like a rubber hat that sits on top. The sensor that I told you that I had unplugged, this is what it looks like. It's green. And as far as where the bolts are sitting, here is one here. You're gonna wanna loosen this guy, and then you're also going to wanna take this one out. There is definitely a nut and washer that sits on the back of here. For the intake box or housing, I had 1 bolt sitting up here. I had 1 down at the bottom, and the third one sat over here. The next thing to check off the list is to drain the fluids. So let's go ahead and get my car up on the jack stands and drain the oil and the coolant. Alright, so now that the fluids are done being drained, I also went ahead and disconnected the fuel lines. I also coated the downpipe bolts in PB Blaster. I'm going to focus on getting the radiator out. So in order to do that, at least for my car, I also took out the overflow tank. I'm also going to disconnect this hose here, this hose here, this guy, and then there are bolts on the back, so we're gonna take this one out here as well as that one over there. I believe those are 12s. And then for the fans that you see at the very bottom, and then for the 2 sensors, there is a sensor there we have to unplug. It's underneath this bracket, and then that sensor right there is on the passenger side. We're gonna also unplug that one. I'm now directly underneath the car, and that is the sensor that we're going to unplug. Same thing on the other side. I also forgot to mention that there are these two brackets that will hold in the radiator. Take those out as well. The radiator will be getting replaced with the CSF radiator in the back. The next thing that we're gonna do here is take out the coolant expansion tank. There is that hose that you see there. It's connected to the expansion tank. We're gonna remove the bolts up top, and we're gonna push that out of the way in order to disconnect this hose here. The next thing we're going to move on to is the AC pulley, I believe. But in order to get this belt off, we are going to, there's a total of 4 bolts here. So we have 2 up top, and then we have 1 at the bottom, and then 1 longer bolt in the back. We're going to loosen up the bottom one, the top one, and then take the rest off. Now that we have the whole AC pulley shenanigans out of the way, we are going to start working on the intake manifold over here. And I smile cheesily at this because it's so overwhelming for me to be looking at my engine bay right now. It still looks like such a mess. The intake manifold is probably going to be one of the most time-consuming things for me because there's a bunch of sensors and engine harness stuff going on in there. The way that I plan on tackling this is to start disconnecting these over here because it all leads to the engine harness. Once those are unplugged, I plan on working from left to right. Hopefully this intake manifold removal comes out a little bit smoother than what I imagined. Let's just start unplugging stuff. Now we have these unplugged. These are coil pack sensors. I had installed a Cobb EBCS, electronic boost control solenoid. I have all these hoses over here that are bunched up, and when I had gotten my car tuned, these were hooked up wrong, and I need to make sure they get hooked up right, so I'm gonna take my time there. We're gonna go ahead and take this guy off. That way I can actually see what's going on. Letters as to where they all go. This engine harness that you see here, I am just unplugging the rest of the sensors that are connected to it. There's 1, 2, 3 sensors left for me to unplug on this side, and then I'm gonna slowly start moving my way in the middle. I ended up disconnecting 1 sensor in the back. So there's a few connectors here. 1 here, here, and this white one. I don't believe that there's 1 more. Oh, and this one here. So there's a total of 4 that I'm about to disconnect. All right, there's 1 more sensor back there that you're trying to see me get. It's going to be that one right there. That one's a little bit tough to get to, so I'm gonna pause it until I get it out. Now I'm going to move on to the driver's side, and we're going to do the exact same thing as we did on the passenger side. Alright, there's a better video of what we're going to be unplugging. It's deep on the driver's side, so those 2 are pretty hard to get to. But go ahead and unplug those, and then we'll move to the back of the intake manifold. There is a brown knock sensor way deep down in the back over here that I can't even find. It's brown, and I've wiped all of the sensors. Can't find it, but I bet you it's really deep down in there, and I haven't seen it yet. Next thing I'm going to move on to now is taking off the intake manifold main bolts. There's a total of 8. There are 2 bolts here, so there's 1 there, 1 there that I'll be taking off. Really hard to see, but it's pretty much like a bolt that's covered in oil, unfortunately, but oh, there it is. I have a better view on it now, but that's the bolt that we're going to be taking off. That's located near the turbo. Moving to the front, there's going to be that bolt right there that we're going to be taking off. And then on the other side, there are the 2 darker bolts down there. I know we've got 1 in the back. It's behind the plastic harness. Kind of really hard to see. It's right behind that plastic piece. The 4th one is right behind all these lines, right there in the middle. point, I've taken out the main 8 bolts for the intake manifold. I do have a few more things to unbutton here, which is a turbo inlet hose, and then there's a few more coolant lines that I have to go back in there and chase. The whole intake manifold itself is fairly loose. It's all about just unplugging the rest and maybe things that I might have forgotten, and then we should be able to take this bad boy out. Okay, so now that that's loose, we now have the brake booster line, which is this one right here. Now that we have the brake booster off, there are 2 coolant hoses that are sitting behind in the back where the throttle body is. I'm gonna go ahead and find those and take those out. Alright, so I finally have the intake manifold taken off. So if you're in a similar situation like me, maybe where you're having a really hard time getting the intake manifold off, there was a lot more that needed to be unplugged. I unplugged the entire harness on both sides, and then there was a hose on the other side of this. It's kind of hard to see. It's on like the underside that ended up snapping. It's really common, it's old, it's crunchy. There's a lot of things that do need to be replaced, and that's what I'm most excited about. So we will be replacing that. And when I was initially pulling up on the manifold the first time, not wanting to budge, it was getting stuck in certain places. I took a lot more things out. As you can see, I separated the top from the bottom. I unbolted the rest of the screws that were on there just to give myself a little more wiggle room and more freedom, and that helped a ton. And then I also ended up removing some hoses off of this guy as well. That hose at the bottom, that's the one that had snapped. It's really old, really common for those to break. This ended up coming out in one piece. It's attached to the intake manifold, which I didn't know. And then this is the condition. I'm like really excited to get this thing cleaned up. I went so ham on that thing. I was just there going at it for another hour to 2 hours. And I was like, oh, I gotta take this out, and I gotta take this out, and I gotta take this out. And it's like, you know what? I ended up just ravaging on everything. I kind of felt like I lost sight of like what I was doing. Another thing, I was trying to really avoid taking out the power steering system and the AC system. You can unbolt those. There's 3 of them. I did mark them with a colored Sharpie for the bolts and stuff because I will probably forget where they go going back in. There's 1 in the back, 2 in the front, and then this you'll be able to move freely because when you take the intake manifold out, it will get caught on this, and that's what I was fighting. And holy
garbanzo beans.
My freaking turbo. Oh! Alright, got sidetracked. I will be moving the AC pulley system thing out of the way as well. Looks like we have a bolt here, have 1 in the back, and that's about it. There's just 3 or 4 bolts that we need to take off, and then we can move that and push that off to the side. We're also going to take those 2 hoses out as well. We have this crossover tube looking thing that we're gonna pull. Probably more than likely gonna take out the turbo, and then we will start going under the car and working on the downpipe, dropping that whole thing because we do have a whole new exhaust system that Cobb sent me. That'll be really nice to have since part of my exhaust is broken. Downpipe is still fairly new. This is also the condition of my block and where the intake manifold is. 183,000 miles old. Go ahead and get cracking on the other stuff. After moving the AC and the power steering out of the way is that there are 2 big hoses right here going down to these 2 lines. We're going to take those off and move them out of the way as well. And then we are going to work on the starter, which is directly underneath and to the left of that. Just Just found out that those are the heater core hoses. Give me a little bit of time to pry those guys off. Next thing we're gonna do is take over this cross tubing type of thing, these two hoses out as well. After those two pieces come out, we're gonna start working on the starter in the back. Did I just break that? Stop. Well, after you've gotten the 4 bolts off of this guy, which now we're gonna focus on the pipes here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is tackle that hose, so it's going all the way down. We're going to cut the zip tie off that one. Alright, check it out. Look at that. The next step for me to do is to take these two off in order to get to the starter. And so for this system right here, as you can see, it's already loose. It's got this hose and these 2 bolts. We'll take that out. And then on this one, there are 2 more bolts on the other side, and we're gonna take those out. And you know what the crazy part is? It's 2. Then for this one, there is a bracket that goes down. I thought it would be good to go and cleared, but the bracket goes down and connects to the block itself. So we'll go ahead and take that one out. For the starter, we do have a ground cable here. I know there's a bolt behind here that needs to be taken off and a wire. There are 2 bolts that are holding it in, and we'll take those out as well. Take that together. I finally unplugged the sensor right here, which Alright, so the starter is finally out. Now we are jumping over to the turbo. I feel like there's a lot of parts to tackle with the turbo. I know there's an oil line. I know we have to get some bolts from the downpipe off, and just so we have some extra room, because I also have to get the belt housing bolt. More convenient to take out the intercooler bracket. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this out. First, looks like there's just 2 bolts holding this bracket in, and then we will start tackling the turbo. Able to pull off the bolt that's on top of the turbo, at least not all the way, but it is out. And now we are going to tackle the downpipe bolts. Now we are underneath the car. I did get the downpipe bolts off on top. You're gonna now want to take this bolt off. You have the O2 sensor in the back that's also pretty fried. I'm gonna have to This whole thing is gonna drop. Doing it by myself, it's gonna be lovely. I got one more on that side, and then this thing's gonna probably fucking drop, so. All right, here is the turbo all out of the system. This is what she looks like. This thing is pretty much toasted. Now, when I was taking this out, the only thing, I thought that it was just these two, but there is another bolt in the back that's kind of a little bit like you don't see it. So there's one behind that when you take the downpipe off. So don't forget about this one. These two are pretty much given, but didn't see that one. This is what I'm left with. Everything is pretty much out. I'm gonna loosen up the pitch stop a little bit more because it's a little stiff. And now it's just the bell housing bolts and supporting the transmission. But there's a few bolts that are down there that I need to take out, and then we will support the transmission properly, because in here there's gonna be two dowels that connect the transmission and the engine together, and then there's the input shaft. We have to make sure that the transmission is supported properly to make sure that the engine, when we're pulling it forward, it does not fall, like the back end of the motor doesn't fall and hit the input shaft or bend the dowels, because that's not going to be very good, and then we will be done. So there are two here that I'm pointing at. On the underside, which I'll have to show you, there's two on the driver's side, two more on the passenger side, which means that there's a total of 6, and then we have to go down underneath and loosen 2 more bolts. That way the transmission can fall a little bit. For underneath the car, these are the 2 nuts that I was talking about, that we're not going to take them all the way off, but just enough to where it gives us some room. So those are going to come down, and then we are also going to go back up in the front where the sway bars are, and I will show you the remainders of the bell housing bolts. Oh, never mind. Nope. I'm currently under the driver's side, and I pointed the light at the 2 bolts that we're going to be taking out. And then it's going to be the same thing on the other side. Those 2 right there, those are also going to come out. We're going to support the transmission and the engine, and then we will go back on top and get ready to pull this thing out. Alright, so at this point, all of the bell housing bolts are out. There is a total of 6. There's one that I literally could not get to. That was on the passenger side at the very bottom. One of the things that I did not do yet, which I'm about to do before we start hooking it up, is the motor mount. I will show you those as well. They are obviously located underneath the car, and we will go ahead and remove those. We are on the driver's side, and this is the bolt that I'm talking about. This belongs to the driver's side motor mount, and then it's going to be the same thing on the passenger side. It's going to look like that. So let's get these out. Everything is set up now. We have jack supporting the transmission. It's jacked up about 2 inches. Up top, I mounted one of the bolts here where the AC compressor goes, another bolt there where the power steering is. We have 2 in the same spot in the back. This is what my setup looks like. Now that the chains are taut and it's leveled at least decently, I'm gonna go ahead and take a pry bar and start prying in between where the transmission and the engine meet. Push it out a little bit and then kind of work my way as it goes. right, guys, that was it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to follow me on my socials at Courtney Jane Racing. And if you haven't already, go ahead and shop my merch at theoverdriven.com. If you made it this far into the video and you watched all the way to the very end, comment I made it. Other than that, thank you guys so much again for watching. It truly means a lot to me, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.